Morning, everyone. Welcome to the One Dharma Center online Sunday service. According to the One Buddhist canon, our founding master said, four great principles, which is the essence of One Buddhism teaching, as well as it is the Dharma that all practitioners need to actualize. That four articles to progress is right enlightenment and the right conduct. First one. Second one, the awareness of grace and the requiring of grace, paying back the grace. Third, practical application of the Buddha Dharma. And the last one is selfless service to the public. So I'd like to talk about the selfless service to the public this morning. Have you ever been to the Dead Sea in Arab countries? The Salt Lake bordering Jordan to the east and Israel to the west. It's named the Dead Sea. Actually, that's a lake. Salt Lake. One of the saltiest bodies of the world. The water in Dead Sea is almost 10 times as salty as the ocean. So not any animals can live. That's why it is called Dead Sea. You can literally float yourself on top of the water and read the books. It may be fun, but not many people actually go into that water. Do you know why? It's very, very smelly. There is just an inflow of the water and no outflow. Lots of water evaporate from the surface of the lake. So that's why it becomes very smelly. My teacher told me the Salt Lake, that the sea is just like the mindset of the egoistic person. They would like to constantly take and receive instead of giving. Not many people would like to hang around that type of a person. Even though from the secular perspective they are very successful, probably they are not that much contented and craving more. They cannot enjoy their life. Let's think about that, why many people are unhappy. We can say some financial reason, relational problems, some frustration, depression, etc. But what could be the root cause? When I worked at One Institute, the One Buddhism Seminary in Philadelphia, I had some inner conflict. I had some frustration, and I was anxious one whole day. But that night, I happened to watch some documentary that's covering the situation of the children in Africa. After I watched that documentary, all my worries just disappeared. My problem, the thing that I thought as a problem, is not the problem at all, considering those situations. We may have a lot of worries or anxieties, frustrating event, etc. But probably many people who lives in underdeveloped country see our situation, they may not understand why many people in developed countries are unhappy, since they do not have to worry about what they eat, what they wear, etc. So, fundamentally speaking, the root cause of our worries, anxieties, maybe we are too much focused on I, mine, me. Think about the comparing mind, depression, frustration, jealousy, etc. All these thoughts or emotions arise from the ground of our sense of self. Our ego is the root cause of all those suffering. That's why the Heart Sutra says, when Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva realized that our five aggregates are empty, when he realized no self, he became free from all suffering and distress. So the root of our suffering is our ego. From the root comes out lots of branches and leaves, like our cravings or desires, attachment, and so on. But just like the leaves provide the sun energy to the root, because of the energy, the root becomes strengthened. Likewise, our desire, our attachments conversely strengthen and reinforce our ego, even though our ego is the root of all our greed and attachments. In other words, in order to come close to the door of enlightenment, so letting go our ego, letting go of our attachments is a necessary step. I saw a very interesting experiment that's conducted by one American psychology professor. His class was divided into two groups. And to one group, to the first group, he gave envelopes, which has $5 bill, $10 bill, or $50 bills at the random. And to the second group, he gave the same amount of money, the envelope. And he said to the first group, within 3 days, you need to spend this money for yourself. It does not matter what you do. You can buy some expensive coffee or anything. To the second group, he asked, within 3 days, you need to spend this money for others, not for yourself. And he, in order to get the data, he called after 3 days, in order to check so-called happiness index, how much their level of happiness was increased. According to his study, the first group who spent the money for themselves, they said, well, just spending $10, $50, their level of happiness is almost the same. But the second group, most of the students said, even though they spend money for others, many of the people replied that they use the money to buy dinner with their friend. Their level of contentment or happiness is far increased. That's how our mind works or the universe works. Especially we live in a society mingling with other people. So in order to lead a life of contentment, of joy, forgetting ourselves and letting go of our attachment and helping others is a great way. Not for the sake of bettering, improving this society, for the sake of ourselves. That's why Buddha said, Dana Paramita is the first paramita among 6. Paramita is a crossing over from this shore of suffering and to the shore of nirvana. Buddha said 6 kinds of paramita. The last one is prajna paramita, the wisdom paramita. But the first is dana paramita. Dana literally means generosity. It's letting go of our possession or help others materially or spiritually, physically, etc. So Buddha told in this way, when our boat, whose destination is nirvana, is very heavy, it cannot move speedily to the other shore, but it's very light, without any attachment or cravings and so on. We can go to the land of nirvana very speedily. So that's why the first paramita is dana. One day I read the Bible, and when I was a churchgoer, I went to very evangelistic Protestant church for a couple of years. I really admired the life of John the Baptist. He says how many people thought that John the Baptist is the Messiah. He had a lot of followers. How can we save ourselves? They asked to John. Then he said, if you have 2 coats, give one to the other. Do the same with your food. Super simple, his teachings. So when I read that passage in the Bible again, when I looked around my room, and like 7 or 8 years ago, I spotted in my room there is a big television, not that big, of this size. In order to practice English, especially the listening and understanding area, when I have some available time, on and off, I watched some television or YouTube. But I could watch YouTube using my laptop. So I thought about that, wow, is that television really necessary? I better use my laptop. And I gave that television to Richmond, one Buddhist temple. The minister said she might use that for the children's service. So I gave that. What I discovered was, first of all, my room looked very, very spacious after I removed that. And there is no discomfort using my laptop watching the YouTube. The biggest discovery was not just the space in my room. I felt far more spaciousness in my mind and heart, kind of a contentment, joyful feeling. So let's think how many unnecessary things we have in our living room or garage. So Next week we are observing Thanksgiving holiday, probably handing out to the needy person is a great way to observe the Thanksgiving. Buddha said, the more you cling, the more unhappy you become. Thich Nhat said, it takes courage to let go of things. But when you do that, happiness comes immediately. One day, one journalist asked Mother Teresa in some convent, what made you to sacrifice, help all these people in India? She's not Indian, she came from Europe. She replied, because I know they are usually very poor, sick people she helped. It is because I know they are Jesus in disguise. Jesus in disguise. When I read that article, it's just like some enlightened master's world. When we are enlightened, they say, all people looks like Buddha, lacking nothing. I don't think Mother Teresa meditated that much like Zen priest, but she let go of a lot of her egoistic thoughts, action, and helped selflessly. That's why a great wisdom comes. The scope of freedom that she could enjoy, her life got really enhanced. So the wisdom and the compassion cannot be separated. Our founding master said, up in the sky, the bright moon will appear and shine on all things in the universe. Only when the dark clouds are swept away, only when the clouds of greed are dispelled in the mind sky of a practitioner, will the moon of wisdom rise and become a mirror that shines on 10,000 generations of all people, so that one can become a great Dharma teacher who deliver sentient beings from an awesome destiny. Our third head Dharma master, Venerable Dosung, said, if you love all sentient beings, you cannot but attain great enlightenment. And if you attain great enlightenment, you cannot but love all sentient beings. There are many ways that we can help others. What could be the best way? Buddha said, the best way is helping them to walk on the Dharma path so that they could reach nirvana. It is like giving them, instead of giving them a cup of water, but we dig a well for them so that they can have the water of eternal life. So whether we help others materially, physically, or mentally, so we have to keep this direction in mind. Especially in the 70s in Korea, there were a lot of Christian pastors who served in a very impoverished areas. They have nothing to eat, no place to sleep. So many pastors started some business and along with them, help them financially. But all their conclusion was, if they are not born spiritually, then they cannot live their life very well. So spiritual things always comes first. I have my own problems, but how can I help others? But the thing is, when we help others, our things will be taken care of by the universe, by other people. That's the law of the universe. And we will realize what bothered me does not bother me anymore. When we have a more spaciousness in our mind and grow very mature. One of my teacher's sister was in deep depression after she got divorced. She could not get out of her room for more than 6 months. One day, she decided her mind, I cannot live in this way anymore. The antidepressant she was taking does not work that well. And she decided to go outside and started to help others, especially who have some problem in their marriage, divorced people, etc. Even though she has some serious depressed symptom. When she did the volunteering work for several months, she started to be free from her depression. And to make long story short, she met a wonderful people and she lives very happily after that. So our action, our volunteering action is very much powerful to change our life, our mind, our emotions. One practitioner, one lay person asked to the Buddha, I have nothing. How can I practice dana pramita? How can I give others? Buddha said, at least you can give some smile to others. Give some encouraging words to others. There are a lot of ways for you to help others. These days, COVID-19 is spreading exponentially, especially in the United States and European countries. But if we let go of our egoistic thought and actions and help others, that's also the very happy virus in a very good sense will spread. I think that's one of the greatest way for us to be free from all those COVID-19 or unwholesome things to protect ourselves. Shakyamuni Buddha said, when Subhuti asked, how can I center my mind? My mind is constantly attracted and distracted by many worldly things. Then Buddha replied, give rise a great aspiration to save yourself and to save all sentient beings. Then your mind will become very calm, focused, and centered. So, helping ourselves and helping others to attain greater enlightenment. We can do as much as we can, but that kind of a seed is very important. Our founding master said it is a noble task of delivering sentient beings through an altruistic Mahayana practice. Lion's cub is still lion. So let us all plant this holy seed within ourselves, then someday it will definitely grow into a very big tree. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So let's reflect. What's my treasure that I really, really challenge? What's my life orientation? Thank you.